Well, I know at 9:30, the last thing you want to hear is an economic analysis of South Africa. So I promise to keep it only to an economic analysis of the global conditions. Jabu said to me that when he tips his hat, I know it's time to stop, and he's already starting to play with it. But it's a great privilege and honor to be here. I'm told that you genuinely are interested in what I have to say, although it's quite amazing at this time of night that you may be on a Thursday evening wanting to hear anything from anybody other than let's go and have a drink. But I read Jabu's speech, and he always sets things out in a very comprehensive way. And so I wanted to sort of maybe just take a step back for a minute and give some perspective as to what you as businesses are now facing, which I see as a golden age for South Africa in the next 10 years. And I say it's a golden age because in the post-democratic period, it's easy to forget that the pre-democratic period was one of interest rates of 14% for the decade before 1994, and growth rates of 1% on average for the 10 years before. And in the period since 94 until 2013, that 20-year period, we saw 3.2% growth rates and interest rates and inflation falling to, in the inflation terms, 6% through that period. So a massive decline in inflation and a very significant pickup in growth. In the 2013 to 2017 period, our growth rates were very much substandard, falling to 1.5% through that period, way below capacity growth rates of, as I say, 3.2%. And at the same time, us creating a below population growth environment, and therefore people getting poorer through that period. So the second period of the Zuma years was one in which unemployment went up, poverty numbers went up, growth rates fell, way below our capacity growth rate. And from a Business Leadership South Africa CEO initiative point of view, which Jabu and I participate in, it was very clear that the only way to achieve that level of underperformance was effectively through shooting ourselves in the foot with respect to certain local activities. And obviously that was a period in which we had to defend democracy in South Africa, defend the business environment, defend the environment for constitutionalism, and Jabu has explained that in quite some detail. So jump to effectively our November 2017 period, in which we faced a rand of 14 rand 50 to the dollar. It had come down from 16 rand 80 in Nenagate at that point where it spiked, when the world woke up to realize the term state capture was real. And in that 2-year period, with all the defenses, we still faced a situation going into the December conference of the ruling party that we didn't know where we were going to be after that binary moment. And sure enough, through a razor-thin victory for Cyril Ramaphosa in December, we managed to break through and enter into this, what I call, golden age. Mr. Ramaphosa calls it the new dawn, and he has struck a new deal that Trudy Makaya, who's with us, is going to be leading the way as his economic advisor in managing. And we wish her absolutely all the luck, and I can assure you, Trudy, that everyone in this room, together with Dondo Magajani from the National Treasury, is going to help you succeed, because your success is South Africa's success, your success is business success, your success is the success of all our employees that are represented in this room, and we're going to do everything to make Cyril Ramaphosa's project a successful one. The reason I say that we have now entered a new beginning is because, in essence, although it's a razor-thin margin of victory, we have turned the page decisively on some of the important disablers of growth, and that was state capture, corruption, and the work that Jabu, the board of Eskom, the new boards of various state-owned enterprises under the leadership of Pravin Gordhan are doing, will be to root out that corruption and effectively restore the institutional integrity of these state-owned enterprises and their commercial acumen and their ability to service South Africa and to produce economic growth and goods and services, exports, and keep the systemic nature of South Africa working. So that is critical, number one. Number two, I would say, we have to undertake a reform process, which the rating agencies have effectively endorsed and look to us achieving, of having victory with regards to low-hanging fruits. What are those? The mining area, trying to get peace in the labor environment, which was certainly some years ago in a very difficult place, and the fiscal consolidation effects that Dr. Magajani's department has very ably led, that we saw in the last budget in February, and various of these low-hanging fruits, if we can show demonstrable evidence of progress, we will continue the ride forward. As I said, we were at 14.50 Rand to the dollar. We went in the post-recall of President Zuma to 11.50. We have, on the back of global conditions, largely led by concerns around the US interest rate cycle, back to 12.50. That is completely correlated with emerging markets, so don't feel like South Africa has taken a step forward and a step back. On a correlated basis, we have moved significantly forward. We, Goldman Sachs, had a conference today where the author of the report that you might have heard about that asked the question, is South Africa the hot emerging market of 2018, presented there, and we had leading emerging market investors present, and there was total consensus that relative to all emerging markets, South Africa stands out in a synchronized world of growth as a growth market or an emerging market that is investable, unlike Russia, unlike Brazil, Turkey, Poland, etc., which have various problems, and that South Africa has the wind at the back, and to the extent that we deliver on the political change promise of Cyril Ramaphosa, deliver these reforms, that there's going to be growing confidence and growing sentiment. So that brings me to, I think, the concept of the golden age or the new dawn. And why is that important for you? It's important because it's a major opportunity for businesses here to get ahead of the curve, to invest. And the real question behind this is, when it comes to your board meetings and you're planning your strategies and taking your capital investment decisions, what are you going to do differently now that you weren't willing or able to do in November 2017? And the main message I have for you is, in order for you to hold up your promise to Trudy to get behind Cyril Ramaphosa's vision, is you have to make the investment decisions to back that promise. It's no good us saying the promise must come from the foreign investment that must flow in. That foreign investment is going to flow in when evidence of confidence from the local market comes, be it the local institutional market, be it the corporates. And so when we see that dynamism created in South Africa, you will see the winds blowing internationally to follow suit and to see the environment. So we are making our own future in a very real way, and don't underestimate your power. Your power is to drive that confidence, to drive that investment decision. The more Truworths invest, the more clothes and food that's going to go through their stores in Woolworths, in Edcon, and so on and so forth. The more that people are going to be employed, the more consumer power they have, the more purchasing power they have, the more the goods are going to flow through, the more investment will be created, the more jobs will be created. That's the flywheel we need to see in South Africa. And so we have our hands on our own future Don't look outside this room to the government for them to lead the way. We are going to lead the way. So with that, thanks very much, and congratulations to all the award winners. It's an honor to be part of this. It's an honor to be with you tonight, and all I can do is encourage you to stay with South Africa, stay with the project of growth. Think about the uniqueness of your position here in one of the most important capital markets in the emerging markets throughout the world, at the base and the tip of Africa, with huge promise of growth into the future. That promise may be delayed in the case of a synchronized African growth story, but it will come, and prepare your way for that. Thanks very much.